Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ABM Report, the Avention podcast series, where we host executives from around the world sharing their thoughts on account-based marketing and sales. I'm Steve Pogorzelski, your host and CEO at Avention. And just in case one Steve wasn't enough, today we welcome Steve Woods, Chief Technology Officer at Nudge and the co-founder of Eloqua.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Steve.
You're welcome. Looking forward to this conversation. So, Steve, can you tell us a little bit about Nudge and what your role in the company plays in the account-based marketing process?
Sure, glad to. So Nudge is a modern sales platform, and it came out of our experience. My co-founder and I, Paul Tashima, were on the founding team at Eloqua, so went very deep in the marketing automation world, and because of that, realized that there was this need to understand relationships, and that's really critical to what account-based marketing and account-based sales is all about. You need to understand, you need to manage, you need to grow, and you need to leverage the relationships that your team has in any account you're trying to get into. It's a complicated web of relationships, and if you can't get visibility and get manageability on those relationships, you will struggle getting into those accounts. So Nudge's focus is all about understanding your team's set of relationships and how those relationships get you into and manage each account in your overall marketing and sales process.
So when you talk about relationships in the team, you're not referring just specifically to sales or to marketing, but an alignment between sales and marketing?
Absolutely. I think more and more sales and marketing need to be aligned. And when I use that word aligned, I'm not specifically looking at the alignment that we had over the last decade, which was really around scoring of a lead in the sales process and an alignment around when marketing would hand that qualified lead over to sales. I'm looking at a deeper level of alignment. If you think of marketing as providing not just awareness and air cover for your message, but also at an account level providing opportunities to start a conversation, the alignment between marketing and sales can go much deeper than we've seen historically, where marketing queues up opportunities to build a relationship, and sales then grows and manages those relationships to get into the accounts.
So, Steve, you've been a leader in the martech space for some time. You co-founded the marketing automation giant Eloqua, and now you're the CTO of Nudge. In your opinion, how is martech changing to accommodate account-based marketing strategies, or more importantly, how is it enabling ABM?
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me sort of take a step back and kind of look at the big evolutions of technology there. I think with sort of martech V1, if you look at where Eloqua was, if you look at a lot of the players in the first decade of the 2000s, we spent a lot of time moving functionality to the cloud. And what that did for marketing was great. You could react at a functional level and say, okay, person X did Y, now I'm going to do this. I'm going to send them another communication. I'm going to put an ad in front of them. I'm going to qualify them and hand them over to sales. And it was great for moving MarTech from an offline world to an online world. But what we realized as an industry, coming out of sort of 2013, 14, 15 kind of era, we now had this wonderful data set in the cloud on what everyone was doing. And I think the current evolution of MarTech, if I can call it kind of MarTech V2, is moving the insights to the cloud. You now know this web of communications and interactions and history, and with the tools that are there, you can start saying, oh, this is interesting. Here's an opportunity to build a new relationship. Here's an opportunity to get back in touch with somebody who can help get you into a certain tribe, a certain area, a certain industry, a certain company. That needs data. It needs machine learning. It needs all the tools that we've talked about a lot, but it's critical to account-based marketing and account-based strategies because of the complexity of what an account is. It's this web of people with different roles and overlapping responsibilities, and it is driven by the relationships that you have with those people. So you need more than a blunt instrument. You need something that can really delve into that data set and pull out the insights and say, if you're going to build relationships today, here are the things that you should know about, and here are the things that you should act on.
I saw that recently that you guys came out with a 7 ways into any account article that's getting a lot of great buzz, and rightly so. with that said, can you talk a little bit about each of the steps and how you think they relate to ABM?
Sure, glad to. It's if you look at the article, it's an interesting one because it doesn't give you an easy path in. It says, here's work that you need to do. If you do the work, you will be successful in getting to those accounts, but you can't just show up for the Olympics without having trained. The article really shows you how you put your organization through the paces to really build the foundation that allows you to get into those accounts. And at its core, relationships matter. And what the article looks at is it says, okay, well, what relationships matter? Let's go beyond sales. Anyone in any context. You might have, and this happens time and time again, a junior person in support who's helped out that client a lot and build a great relationship. You might have someone in accounting who plays hockey with the CMO. You might have an investor, an advisor, someone on your board who's an influencer in the space that can help you get in a different way than your team would. If you are able to do that and bring the entire team to bear on the problem and have that entire team build those relationships, it becomes so much more effective than just having a sales team try and build relationships. You gain visibility across the entire team and your extended team, and you focus on the relationships for the relationship's sake, not because I've got a quota in front of me and I've got to close some deals this quarter. But if you put that foundation in place in terms of breadth of relationships and depth, you will be able to get access to any of the accounts that matter.
And I know that you talk a lot about ABM from the sales aspect. So in your opinion, how can people on the sales side of the house wrap their heads around account-based marketing and why it's really important that they get on board as well?
Absolutely. I think you've got to look at an organization as a network of people that work there. You can't look at it as a corporation that lacks that humanity. And if you have that lens, you start to realize that marketing and sales are not that far apart. They're just looking at different levels of scalability. Marketing is trying to do much broader awareness strategies, and sales is trying to look at those individual relationships and build from the ground up. And if they wrap their heads around that problem from the same phrasing, you realize that marketing has a wonderful role to play in terms of generating the directional awareness that your solution is interesting and it exists, and the tactical opportunities to start conversations. This person has downloaded your latest white paper. They have signed up for your free trial. They're interested in an event. All of those opportunities are conversation starters. And sales, rather than saying, I've got a list of names and I'm going to start at the A's and hammer my way down and be rejected at every step with that cold calling strategy, if they realize that marketing is creating those conversation starters and they work from there, they work from those bright spots, it's a wonderful opportunity to say, okay, well, out of my list of 1,000 accounts that I need to go after, these are the bright spots. These are the 100 accounts today that are showing interest and opportunities for me to help them out, to get them involved in the industry, to get them involved in an event, to get them involved in a new way of thinking, and build from those bright spots forward rather than cold calling from the A's and starting down. And I think that shift to think of a company as a web of relationships and think of every communication opportunity as a starting point for a conversation and a starting point for a relationship is a shift that happens across marketing and sales and brings those groups into much tighter alignment.
Steve, what's the number one question your customers ask about when they're starting an ABM program?
You know, it's interesting. There's this history that we have of what I'd call an automation mindset. And if you look at it, you know, through the lens of the sales profession, we're in an interesting space right now where the fad that we're just kind of moving past right now is one of heavy automation within sales. And you've got these sales teams that crank out thousands of these kind of air quote sales emails, which you've probably received, that sort of they're plummeting in effectiveness, but it feels so good. It's such a great drug to say, I sent out thousands of personalized emails today. No, you didn't. You spammed people with this false relationship structure. But I think that automation mindset is very addictive, and people are trying to shift beyond that and say, wow, we need to build relationships. But when you're coming off of a space where you feel like you've sent out 1,000 emails, it's hard to put the effort in and say, hey, wait a minute, relationships take work. These are real humans. I have to put the effort in to understand them, to understand their problems, to understand their needs, their situations, how I can help. And you're not going to be sending 1,000 emails a day if you're actually building relationships. You're going to send numbers that are far lower than that. The effect will be far greater because you're not pissing off people en masse. You're actually building real relationships. So the effect will be there. But I think the addiction to automation causes a certain amount of hesitation when people think that they're actually building relationships with each of those 1,000 spam emails they're sending out.
Great point. So, Steve, given your considerable experience in this space, I think it would be really valuable if you could give one piece of advice to a company just starting an ABM program.
Sure. I think that the number one piece of advice is to think of a company as a set of people. That's all it is. Nothing more, nothing less. A company is a set of people, and people are human. You've got to think about what they want, what they care about, who they are, what they're going to react to. And if you start from that perspective, that you're talking to a bunch of humans, then it changes how you think about relationships. It changes about who on your team can build those relationships. Not just salespeople, it's everyone. It changes how you build those relationships. You have to start with what they care about and what they're interested in. And I think if you start there and always come back to there, that a company is just a group of people and those people are human, you will naturally build the right strategies for connecting with those people, for understanding those people, for helping out those people, building relationships with them, and out of that, success will clearly come. But if you start without that mindset, without thinking that a company is just a bunch of people, you're going to go down paths that ultimately are not successful.
Great advice. And that's another wrap of another episode of the ABM Report. Steve, I really want to thank you for taking time to speak with us today. I really appreciated your insights. You've given us all something to think about.
My pleasure. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me, Steve. If anyone wants any more information, we're at www.neednudge.com.
Great. Stay tuned next time as we talk with Matt Hines, President of Hines Marketing. You can get even more ABM tips by following us on Twitter. We're at Avention Inc. Have a great week, everyone.